welcome back to my channel. My name's Morgan, and in this video I'm finally trying to catch up with all my 2022 stuff by looking back at my 2022 stats. Hopefully if I figure it out I will put up the graphs from storygraph, which is how I track my reading, so you can see them in a bit more detail, and I'll leave the link as well below. I do also have a couple of graphs that I've made myself because I'm a nerd, so I'll include those at the end. So first, going through my stats from storygraph, I read a total of 56 books in 2022. I had set a goal of 40, that kind of is my benchmark one that I just put in, and I usually read over it, but I like to be, one or two books ahead the whole year, so I make it lower than I think it actually will be. And last year with the pages goal, I tried to make it so that my average book length would be 300 pages, because I know that I generally read under 300 page books. So it was to make me read some chunky books that have sat on my shelves for ages. And I didn't set a minutes goal because I didn't know they were a thing. I don't know if they were at the start of 2022, but the breakdown, now that I've changed my audiobook pages into minutes, is 7,704 pages and 204.8 hours in audiobooks. 2022 was my first year using Storygraph, and I really like the moods one especially. So my top moods according to Storygraph were reflective, emotional and adventurous, mysterious and dark, fair enough, followed by informative, sad, hopeful, challenging, funny, lighthearted, inspiring and tense. Most of the books I read were medium paced at 54%, 31% fast and 15% slow. Like I said, most of the books I read are under 300 pages at 71%, 23% were 300 to 499 and just 6% were over 500, which is that one book? It's two books. It is How to Survive a Plague and The City of Brass. Yeah, that tracks. For fiction and non-fiction, I actually read way more fiction this year than I usually do. I've had a pretty much 50-50 split for the past 5 years or so, but yeah, my fiction was 63% and my non-fiction was 37%. Now I haven't put books that I'm reading for university on Storygraph, so it probably is actually more like 50-50, but a lot of the stuff I have to read for uni is quite boring and I can't be bothered to import it onto Storygraph, so yeah. I had books from loads of genres, which I really like. I like how long this graph is, that it doesn't even fit on the whole screen at once. My top genre was middle grade, and if you saw my booktube newbie tag you'll see that I mentioned that, and it's probably because I read A Series of Unfortunate Events. As it is, it's my top genre, and I don't really read middle grade that much. I don't think I can keep saying that now looking at this graph. My second top one, which is usually top, is LGBTQIA+, which isn't really a genre, but sure, it's nice seeing that it's up at the top, followed by mystery, which again I think is A Series of Unfortunate Events, and then fantasy and history, poetry, literary were my other top ones. Right at the bottom, just for fun, is economics, graphic novel, horror, manga, philosophy. What's the one manga I read? Oh, okay, I'd call that a graphic novel, but sure. The format graph is maybe my favourite. I love how aesthetically pleasing it is, and that's because my print and my audio were equal on 45% each, followed by digital on 11%, which makes 101%, so one of them was actually more, but I'm glad that they made it equal. It looks really pretty now. My most read author was Lemony Snicket, of course, followed by Becky Chambers. I started the Wayfarers series with The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, is it that way round? And I also read Sam for the Wild Bill and Crown for the Precious Eye, and enjoyed all of those, so I will be continuing reading Becky Chambers. I also read 3 books by Philip Pullman, which was His Dark Materials, and 2 books by Adam Kay, Kai Chugoni and Rebecca Solnit. And here is my graph from the year. You can see that in my best month I read 10 books in October, and in June, which I won't call my worst month, I read 1 book, and it was a poetry collection. I'm excited to see if my graph is pretty similar this year. I feel like I always start the year quite strong, fall off in summer when it's nice and warm outside and I don't really read much, and then towards the end of the year I'm like, oh no, I need to read all these books that I bought. I rated all but 4 of my books and I came out with an average rating of 4.44, which is pretty great, to be honest. I feel like when I started on Storygraph moving from Goodreads, I wasn't quite sure how to use the 4.5, 4.75, probably gave a few more books 5 stars that were maybe actually 4.5. And the couple other things that Storygraph gives you, my longest book of the year was How to Survive a Plague by David France at 640 pages, and my shortest book of the year at 32 pages was Don't Ask the Dragon by Lem Cisse, which is a picture book which I would highly recommend. I'll put up as well, if I can, my 5-star reads of the year and my 2022 at a glance if you want to flick through and see what I read, or again I'll link my Storygraph so that you can see it if you're using a screen reader or anything. The stat that maybe shocked me the most is that 23 books I read last year were part of a series, which is probably the most series books I've ever read in 1 year, which is good because there's a lot of series I need to finish. I also successfully completed one reading challenge, which was the Buzzword reading challenge from Books and Lala. I just used that to get through my backlist basically, and I will be doing it again next year. Finally, a couple of graphs that I made myself. I like to see where the books I'm reading are coming from and whether I'm actually reading the books on my shelves. Spoilers, not really. So this pie chart shows where the books I read came from. So you can see the biggest chunk of the pie is Libby, which is my free library app, at 55.4% of my reading. Actually, the next biggest chunk is books I already owned, so not too bad, at 14.3%, followed by books I borrowed from people, which was 10.7%, then books that I bought in 2022 and read within 2022 at 8.9%, 7.1% from the library, so physical copies not on the app, and then equally with 1.8%, so probably I'm guessing one book, was books that I acquired and read, so that's books that I somehow got for free, and one book that I already owned and I reread. So this one is just charting the books that came into my life but I didn't read by the end of 2022. And equally, with 36.8% each, is books that I bought brand new and books that I got from the free little library. Next was books I was gifted at 15.8%, and then books I bought secondhand at 10.5%. So overall, this graph is for the 19 books that came into my life and I didn't read by the end of the year. In total, 25 books came into my life in 2022 and I only read 6 out of 25. So just under a quarter. Ideally, in 2023, this would just be one big circle of books acquired and books read within the same year. That would be great. I think that's very aspirational, especially with getting books for Christmas maybe. No, we can aim high. So yeah, those are my stats from 2022. I hope you found this interesting. I love this kind of video, so I really wanted to make one. My next video, to try and get out all the end of year, new year content before the end of January, will be my 2023 goals, which I think will be very good for me to revisit because I feel like I've already fallen off them. Let me know if you have any fun stats that you track, and if you've made a video like this or a blog like this, I would love to see it. I love seeing people's pie charts and things. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.